Okay, let's try this again. I'm not sure how well this will go. I just saw the last time OBS was acting up just a little bit. Anyway, back into this case with Miles Edgeworth investigations. We are still working on proving Maggie Bird's innocence. Obviously, we know this guy is our main culprit because we saw the cutscene with him killing his partner. However, we don't have enough evidence to prove it yet. And now now he's trying to accuse Maggie here, and we gotta somehow prove her innocence. So let's go ahead and ask her about the master key that supposedly she had used at some point. What do you mean by use the master key? Oh, I had to use it to open the door for this prosecutor who had forgotten his key. I mean, it's my job as a security guard, right? Ah! What is it? That's right, I just remembered. The prosecutor who had forgotten his key. It was Mr. Portsman, sir. What? Please tell me more, Mrs. Bird, quickly. Okay, we seem to be stable now. It disconnected within like 30 seconds, so hopefully we can actually stream today. That'd be nice. Forgetful Mr. Portsman. It's around 12 a.m. Mr. Portsman had forgotten his office key, so he came down to security, sir. And that's when you loaned the master key to him? No way! It's against regulations to loan the master key out to anyone. I welcomed Mr. Portsman to his office and opened the door for him personally, sir. Let's see. And then, what happened after that? Well, he called for me to come close up his office as he was leaving to go home. It was around 1:30 a.m., I think. So in summary, for the sake of one forgetful prosecutor, you used the master key twice tonight. Talk about suspicious. I doubt you could say that you've never left your keys at home, Detective. This calls for a thorough examination of Mr. Portsman's door. Okay. And now we gotta check his door again. There we go. I won't rest until I inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. We'll check the door. The door is locked tight. It's as though a credit card trick wouldn't work here, huh, Mr. Edgeworth? This is the office of a high prosecutor, Detective. These doors won't be pretty ineffective if the average cat burglar could get through them. Ah, so I guess only a great cat burglar could get in. And that must be who our culprit is. Might I advise you to return that conclusion to whatever pawn shop you bought it from? Room 1203. I think this is Mr. Portsman's office. Yeah, you can't mistake it because of the basketball hoop, sir. Well, that reminds me. Mr. Portsman had actually wanted room 1202 really badly. But since you were already occupying it, Mr. Edgeworth, we put him next door, sir. Well, why was Mr. Portsman so particular about getting room 1202? I'm not sure, but I bet it's because of something like his birthday is December 2nd. Yep, that's gotta be it. Can't think of another reason why. Can think of at least 3. Why am I even wasting time thinking about this? It's Mr. Portsman's personal basketball hoop. Can't believe he put something like this in the hallway of a prosecutor's office. But you know, it's actually pretty useful, sir. I haven't gotten lost trying to get to your office since it's been here. How long have I had the same office, and yet you still managed to get lost? Okay, is there anything else to check? The door itself, maybe? A minimalist, yet classy door made of top-quality wood. It's kind of majestic, too. Fits in really well with the ambience of a prosecutor's office. Even Mr. Portsman seemed dignified just because he works behind one of those. Nonsense. A man doesn't become more or less dignified because of where he works. He seems more dignified than Mr. Payne. Mr. Payne? I suppose custodial work can also be dignified. Oh, that's rough. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else to look at? Check mark, check mark, check mark. Nope, I'm not seeing anything. Okay, it's saying the same thing here. Oh my god, I didn't mean to actually start this conversation because I didn't think it'd go anywhere. Okay, So let's see. What are we still looking for? I've already checked this area earlier, but it never hurts to take another look. Okay, so there's gotta be something I'm still missing. This key was used when missing from 1 a.m. to 2:30. Wait. Yeah, that doesn't... That can't connect, right? Miss Bird, I'm afraid there's a flaw in your story. What? No way, pal. I mean, sir. You said that you locked up Mr. Portsman's office at 1:30 a.m., correct? However, the master key had already been stolen at that time. How? Nothing gets by you, Mr. Edgeworth. You saw that contradiction like a pro. I had totally forgotten all about that, but thanks to you I remember it now. You're right. It was around that very time that I realized the master key was missing. And? Well, I'm a security guard, sir. I couldn't just admit to losing the master key, could I? So I pretended to lock up his room, sir. You pretended? Yeah, I used my house key and made it look like I was locking up, sir. So in actuality, you never did relock the door then? Well, I thought that maybe I could go lock it after I found the key. Think of it, I guess the door still hasn't been locked properly. Mrs. Bird unlocked the door, but the master key was stolen, so she couldn't lock it up. Okay, and now with that information, maybe we can... There's a contradiction here between reality and the evidence. If what Miss Bird has said is true, then why is this door locked tight? Huh? No, you're right. Mrs. Bird, are you sure you didn't relock this door? I am certain of it, sir. And I don't think Mr. Portsman noticed it himself that I hadn't. Which means what, sir? It either means that he actually does have the key to his office, or the door to Miss Bird opened wasn't the one at all, but a completely different one. She opened a different door? How can you prove that? There's an easy way to find out. All we need to do is... we need to examine these. Prints on the doorknob? The prints on the doorknob will tell us everything. Hey, you! Yeah, you, pal. Do us a favor and see what you can lift from this, okay? So, what did you find out? There's no need for such belligerent nostril flaring, Detective. Sir, I found only Mr. Portsman and Mr. Faith's prints on the doorknob. So only 2 people's prints were found on this, huh? It's pretty decisive. Huh? I'm lost, sir. Thinking logically, a certain other person's print should be on the knob as well. Now, whose print should also be on the doorknob? If Maggie opened the door, hers should be on there, right? Don't you find it odd that the prints of the person who unlocked this door are absent? You mean... yes, the door that Miss Bird opened couldn't have been this one, but a different one. What have we here? Won't rest until I inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. I don't know why we couldn't have noticed this before. Actually, there's 2 things here. First, we have this letter. What is this? It's got a scrap of paper. I'll get it, sir. Let's see. There's something written on it. It looks like a note from the victim. I bought the 3 pieces of evidence by, just like we talked about on the phone, but it looks like you're out. Guess I'll catch up to you later, buddy. Yeah, it's from Mr. Portsman. And we have this over here. What's this? What are you looking at, sir? Hey, how about a game? That's okay, Detective. I just found the position of this hoop to be a little off. Hey, you're right, sir. Guess it shifted when someone made a seriously sweet slam dunk. The positioning of the hoop is definitely unnatural. Better take note of this. Nice, and now our second part of the investigation is complete. We should pretty much have everything we need to make a case. Poking around the hallway has actually paid off quite handsomely. Huh? How so, sir? In a variety of different ways. I think it's time we had a little chat with the real culprit of this crime. Do you know who the killer is? Wow, Mr. Edgeworth. As long as my logic is sound, then yes. The mastermind behind this murder is none other than Mr. Portsman. What? Mr. Portsman? I knew it! That's exactly what my logic senses were telling me too. I suspected it was him from the instant he accused Maggie of being the killer, sir. It's anything but logical. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves. Come what may, it's time to knock on Truth's door. Mr. Portsman, I finished processing the bloody letters, sir. Alright, let me take a gander at it. Pass it here. Okay, looking good. You there, take good care of this. I actually really like the sprite work of this HD remake. Well, if it isn't Detective Gumshoe. End of line for you, Portsman. We got you now. Off your dog, Mr. Edgeworth. Is this some kind of joke? It's no joke. We know, Mr. Jock Sportsman. I'm gonna keep butchering that because I want to say sportsman, even though it's not. That you are the guilty party in this case. You must be pretty upset getting chased out of your own room. I'd be mad too. So I guess you can stay, if you promise to stay out of our way. You intend to hide your crime under the guise of a prosecutor doing his job? You see right through the unsightly paper-thin mask you wear upon your cowl. Who would have ever thought it would come to this? Actually, come to think of it, your mentor was Malfred von Karma, right? The legendary prosecutor who never lost a single case for 40 long years? There's always this insistent chatter about forged evidence with that guy. Really teaches me that I gotta stay on the lookout for false accusations, you know? Are you done trying to play mind games with me? They won't work. The only thing you should be using that mouth of yours is explaining yourself. Although that too will only dig your hole deeper. Either way, your game is up. Oh, aren't we full of ourselves, even though you have yet to prove anything? Mr. Portsman rebuttal. I have no idea what sort of harebrained idea you have in mind, but there's a mountain of evidence that points away from me being the culprit. Besides, I may ask, do you propose I unlocked your door and got in here? Look, I feel bad doing this to you, but I've got work to do, so we're done here. Sorry, we're not finished yet. Boy, you're stubborn. I suppose you're basing your accusations on something? I'll show you what I'm basing my accusations on. With evidence. Okay, before we go any further, let's go ahead and drop a quick save, because I don't want to mess this up. Okay, so the comment that we need to prove, there's a amount of evidence that points away from me being the culprit. No. Besides, how may I ask you propose I unlocked your door and got in here? This is the comment that we need to make, so... Okay. Which piece... Objection! Pretty sure it's the master key. I could be wrong. I believe you were able to open my office door. With the master key, no less. Objection! Wait. Hold on for a sec. I never laid a finger on that key, as you already know. Precisely. You were able to open my door without lifting a single finger. Well, maybe you did. But only to direct. That's right. You used your finger to direct this person to open my door with the key. Take that! You would ask Miss Bird to open your own office door for you, yes? Yeah? I kind of forgot my key at home. Happens a bit too often for my taste, you know? But the room you had Miss Bird open at the time was not your own, was it? What? You have quite the imagination. Why don't we ask the girl herself whose door she opened, shall we? I'm certain that it was Mr. Portsman's door, sir. I checked the number plate to make sure I was opening the right door, sir. See? Mrs. Bird backs up my story. Yet, what if you had misled her, to fool her into thinking what you wanted? And how do you suppose I did that? By switching the number plates on our doors, for example. That's right, they do slide out pretty easily. Furthermore, you didn't use one other thing to give a really strong impression. That the door she was opening was yours, and not in fact mine. What was it Miss Portsman used to make Mr. Bird think it was to his room? That would be the basketball hoop.
Take that!
What? The basketball hoop, sir? It's quite the peculiar fixture in any hallway, let alone a hallway in this building. Which is why it left an unusually strong impression on you. It's an object perfectly suited to sit just outside the office of a I'm losing my ability to talk. It's very true, sir. Because there was that basketball hoop sitting there. I thought the door I was opening had to be Mr. Portsman. There are signs that the hoop has been moved. Sit in front of my office to be sure. I see. So that's how you do suspicion on people. Thanks for the tip. But I think your conjecture is a little off the racetrack. Now you're just spouting nonsense. I had the girl open my office door. For that, I was in my room the entire time. You don't have a single reason to suspect me. So he intends to claim his innocence to the end, does he? I'm as pure and innocent as my jacket. Mrs. Bird is as dirty and guilty as the jacket she wears. My jacket's not dirty, I'll have you know. I just washed it yesterday. Please calm down, for I intend to show who is the one truly covered in slime here. You're spouting nonsense. I had the girl open my office door. After that, I was in my room the entire time. I don't think that's it, because if that was true, we wouldn't have this note, right? That basically says he wasn't there. And even if he was in there, he would have seen the note in the first place.
Objection!
That was a lie. What are you talking about? How was that a lie? There's a note that the victim left for you, Mr. Portsman. A note? It was left under your door. What did you not notice? And right here it says, "But you're out." You were not in your room when the victim came to call on you. So then where were you? What were you doing? Shall I explain it in full detail for you? You were busy snooping around in my room, the very room that you had Miss Bird open for you.
Objection!
That's just nonsense! You have no evidence that I made the girl open your door for me. Oh, but I do. I have very decisive evidence. This is proof positive you had Mrs. Bird open the door for you. Do I have proof positive of that? The only thing I can think of is the prosecutor's safe, right? Because that's the evidence that,
Take that!
Nope, I fucked that up. Oh, because her prints aren't on the doorknob, that's right. I had your door dusted for prints. My door? What for? Come on, I bet you didn't find anything. Sure good at wasting time. You're right, I didn't find anything, and definitely not Mrs. Bird's fingerprints. Her prints? What does that have to do with anything? Let's put it this way. If she really was the one who opened your door, then her prints should naturally be on the doorknob she touched. Further, all the prints on my office doorknob have been wiped clean off. I can only assume it's because Miss Bird's fingerprints were on it. Don't you think it's time you gave up your charade? We know you stole into my office with the intent of stealing something from me. Detective Faith found you out. Possibly because he heard noise sounds coming from a room whose occupant was on leave. Mr. Portsman, you killed Mr. Faith to silence him. And I had the misfortune to return when I did, if to threaten me as you escaped. As I said, when you had the gun to my back, no one gets away with committing murder in my office. Just what is so funny, pal? Well, that look of stiff seriousness on the face of this office's finest prosecutor, as he makes a huge mistake in accusing me and simply too much to bear. There's just nothing else like it in the world. What? Mr. Edgeworth just explained it all and even backed it up. You're the murderer. Stop trying to be slippery and just admit to the crime already. And as I said earlier, it's also circumstantial, so full of conjecture. You say you checked my doorknob for prints? Well, I can readily confess I had wiped the knob down well. I'm a little obsessive-compulsive, you see. I didn't want to touch a doorknob that had been touched. Which is why I wiped the doorknob as soon as I could after you opened the door. After that, it makes perfect sense that only Jim's and my own prints would be on there. You made that up just now, didn't you? Furthermore, as for the note Jim left for me, do you know exactly when he left that was? For all we know, he could have left it there before I arrived at the office. Like early evening, for example. Are you saying you failed to notice a note in your doorway? Hey, even geniuses fail at times. I was probably too preoccupied by work-related matters, although that's no excuse. That's just a flat-out lie. There's no way you didn't notice a note that size. But you can't prove that, can you? Say something, Mr. Edgeworth. Back me up here, sir. Orson makes a good point. I can't prove he didn't simply overlook it. Besides, I have an airtight alibi. Airtight, you say? I only just realized I had one when we were talking. I guess it would have been better for all of us if I had told you sooner. If memory serves, you came back to this office around 2 a.m., correct? It was then that you had an unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit. But exactly at that time, I was down in criminal affairs. Ask around. I'm sure the detectives will corroborate my story. It's the perfect alibi. Do you really think it's that perfect? Like I said, I don't care. Ask around all you like. You'll see for yourself. Detective Gumshoe. Sir, yes, sir. I'll go check out his alibi, sir. Be right back. Mr. Edgeworth, sir. I think we're in trouble. It's just like Mr. Portsman said. The guy down in criminal affairs said that he saw him at around 2 a.m. You see? All the evidence points to him being the culprit. So there must be a contradictory point in his alibi somewhere. Pretty sure this is like the first major roadblock in the story. We have to try to figure out. Okay. Do I have the other information where I can logic stuff out, or no? It was then that you had the unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit.
Hold it!
It's as you say, however. Yes, however, you're the only one who claims to have bumped into the culprit. So tell me, did you see the person's face? Was it me who you saw? It was pitch black, so I couldn't actually see.
Objection!
Oh, come on now. I'm sure you saw something. Try a little harder, why don't you? Getting to feel like I'm the one being integrated here. Oh well, it doesn't matter if you remember or not. It only matters that you ran into the culprit. But exactly at the time, I was down in criminal affairs.
Hold it!
So you paid the criminal affairs department a visit. Yep, right after I left the prosecutor's building, I headed straight for the precinct. Ask around. I'm sure the other detectives will corroborate my story. The perfect alibi.
Hold it!
We did go and ask around to confirm your testimony. It was just as I said, right? Yes, sir. A number of detectives said they saw you at around that time. See? I had the perfect alibi. That's the ace I had up my sleeve. Portsman's alibi may be perfect at first glance, but I know there's a hole in there somewhere. All I need to do is press him a little more and see what comes of it. Okay.
Hold it!
You were correct. It was around 2 a.m. Are you sure? It's really important to me that you're spot on with the time. Remember checking my watch then, and make no mistake. It's 2. Giving testimony like a pro. Okay, so you came back at your office at 2. Possible. He actually does have the perfect alibi. What's wrong? Why the sudden sullen look on your face? Say anything back, Mr. Edgeworth? I think we've reached the end of this line, and it's time to get off this crazy train. You there! Sir! Please escort the young lady out. But remember, be gentle. Maggie! Detective Gumshoe! Yeah, we really don't have anything to refute that at the moment. Is there nothing I can do? There must be a way to turn this situation around. I only had a clue. I missed something that could help me cast doubt on the alibi? I need to calmly think this through one more time, and with logic. The intruder I met could not have been Miss Portsman. Then who could it have been? Okay, there was a second person in the room. There were 2 bullets left at the scene of the crime. One that robbed Mr. Faith of his life. And one that nearly robbed me of my jacket. However, the murder weapon only showed signs of being fired once, meaning that it's entirely possible that a second gun was used in my office tonight. Seeing how the killer had to steal Mr. Faith's gun, that the killer had another gun up their sleeve. Therefore, the second gun could have been the property of an entirely different person, which could mean there was another person who paid a visit to my office tonight. Okay, and then we connect the files in disarray, which explains why the files were mixed up twice, doesn't it? Supposedly there's yet another visitor tonight. That would also resolve issue of why my shelves were upended twice. We know the shelves were disturbed once before and once after the murder, so it wouldn't be much of a stretch to think that it was work of 2 different people. Once by the person who stole the victim's gun and killed him with it, and once again after the murder by our second culprit, who was the owner of the second gun. If we suppose that the second culprit's gun was the one that was pointed at my back.
Objection!
Mr. Portsman, it seems I need to amend my assumptions regarding this case. Great, so you finally come to your senses? Mr. Edgeworth? Sir, what are you saying? This has been a big misunderstanding on my part from the start. I'd assumed that the person I ran into was the killer. That may not be the case. What do you mean? The person I ran into was just your average thief. Thief? Sir, doesn't that cause some sort of contradiction in the facts? Not at all. It simply means that the killer was someone else. It means that in actuality, 2 culprits stole into my office tonight. What do you mean, 2? Explains both why my shelves were disturbed twice and how there were 2 guns. Mr. Portsman tricked Miss Bird and gained entry into my office.
Objection!
Now you're just leading the argument. You still don't have any actual proof, you know. If you could please go along with my hypothetical scenario for now, Mr. Portsman. In the end, if you really are innocent, you have nothing to worry about. Now then, returning my scenario, Mr. Portsman was out to steal something from me, which is why he checked my secret safe and ransacked my shelves. This is the first time. So then, this would be when the files were put back in the wrong order, right? Correct. And then, just when he was about to look somewhere else, who should walk in but his own partner, Mr. Faith? But why did Mr. Faith come into your room, sir? Probably had business with Mr. Portsman, which is why he was in the area. But that's when he noticed sounds coming from my office, would be my guess. Oh, because you were supposed to be away, right? He must have thought it was odd, so he came into his office to check it out. Correct. As a detective, that was the right thing to do. And when he came in, he found his own partner standing there. Because it was Mr. Portsman, Mr. Faith probably let his guard down. Mr. Portsman was not so merciful as to let him leave alive. He waited for a chance and stole Mr. Faith's gun from him. Then, killed him. He silenced Mr. Faith for catching him in the act of stealing. This is the moment in which the first shot was fired, the one that landed in my files. Following that, Mr. Portsman wiped the gun down and left it behind as he made his exit. He could afford to do that because he also left a fake dying message behind. He's such a complicated troublemaker, you know that? Well, if things were as simple as that, the whole would be solved. However, there was yet another visitor to my room. This is where it gets complicated. There was another visitor, sir? Yes, and this person's objective was to steal something from me. Now then, even after Mr. Portman left, the door to my office remained unlocked. However, this new visitor had no way of knowing that, so he stole the master key from the security guard's room, and then entered my room and searched through my shelves. This was the second time they were disturbed. It seems our thief found their prize. A stolen O-file, right, sir? Correct. Only just as the thief was about to leave with the file, I appeared. The thief then threatened me with their own gun and made their escape. The second bullet was fired during that brief encounter. So the shells got messed up twice in the two bullets. It's all because two different people were doing those things at two different times. Precisely. So now do you see, Mr. Portsman? The person I met was just a thief, and was not, in fact, Mr. Faith's killer. Your alibi for the time frame in which I ran into the other person is now irrelevant. Because we now know that the murder took place during the first culprit's visit.
Objection!
What's so funny, pal? Absolutely splendid. Your scenario explains everything. Of course it does. It's Mr. Edgeworth after all. But you know, it still doesn't change the facts that it's all circumstantial. Supposing if, and that's a big if, your theory is right, it would indeed render my alibi, which has withstood scrutiny, mind you, irrelevant. But there's still one defining point of your argument, for which you have no evidence. Your supposition is that I was the first visitor. Mr. Edgeworth, you can't let him get away with that, sir. But he has a point. It's only proof at this point. Don't say that, sir. I don't believe this. Don't worry, Maggie. I'll do something if I must. You know something. I find your attitude to be somewhat peculiar, Mr. Edgeworth. If the person you met really was a plain old thief, then why is that person not your main suspect? That is, if your theory is correct. The thief you ran into should be your real suspect, wouldn't you say? You should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might be still nearby. Hate to repeat myself, but as I've already said, I was in the I was training in my room. When James came in to deliver some evidence to me, I was down to criminal affairs. So I can't be expected to know what happened over here after I left. So you think we should be out there looking for the thief? Of course, I wasn't the time to be having these dead-end discussions. I don't think it's all dead-ended. I find your alibi to be fascinating. Let's continue where we left off, shall we? I know he's lying. I know he was here at the scene of the crime. Just have to find a way to prove it. Okay, so now we're at the end. You can tell because the music's picked up a little bit. We just have one more hurdle to kind of overcome. And I gotta find a statement that is, a thief you ran into should be the real suspect. When you say, we should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might still be nearby. I have to repeat myself, but as I've already said, I was training in my room. The reason why this can't add up, though...
Hold it!
I gotta pull up the evidence. Actually, no, I wouldn't. Why not? That's elementary. The dying message, of course. Mr. Faith Killer would clearly left those letters on the spines of those files. Oh, I was actually gonna bring this up anyway, so thank you, game. It was after they were on them that the thief stole one of them. You mean the old files, right? And that's how we also know the letters themselves were a setup, and not for Mr. Faith. The thief was the killer. Do you think they would try to undermine themselves? Maybe the killer just didn't think of that either? Yeah, that must be it. Maybe, just maybe... Okay, I'm still missing... Let's keep pressing statements. Usually that's the key. If there's like something that's not directly like in your face, if you keep pressing statements, you should find something. Once escaped, I lied that the thief would linger nearby. You never know. Maybe they didn't get what they were really after. Oh, you talk like you know quite a bit about this thief. It's nothing like that. I have no idea about anything, after all.
Hold it!
According to Mr. Faith's note... Hold on, I thought we already cleared that up. Didn't we say that Jim left a note for me in the early evening? But if you have proof that he left it at a different time, say just before he was murdered... Don't have any, no. You see? So I insist again that I was in my office the entire time.
Hold it!
Why didn't you go with Jim, like there with Mr. Faith? That's because he said he was tired and going to take a quick nap. You know those two sofas in the hallway? He likes to sleep on those. It's one of his habits. What of the evidence he brought? They were things related to yesterday's case. Just 2 items. A gun and a pendant. Interesting. That piece of testimony seems too crucial to let slip through the cracks. He brought me 2 items, a gun and a pendant that was related to yesterday's case. Okay, this is the actual statement, isn't it? Because our note says he brought 3, not 2.
Objection!
Only 2 pieces? I believe the proper phrase here is, you fail. Excuse me? You fail as a prosecutor, Mr. Portsman, as you intend to keep evidence hidden from me. What are you talking about? I haven't hidden anything from you. Now here's a piece I think you should read, carefully. It says that Mr. Faith was bringing you 3 pieces. Yes, and this is the victim's real dying message to you, Mr. Portsman. I can't believe it. They get tripped up by simple arithmetic. Where is the missing piece of evidence? It's... You have it, don't you? Only the guilty would make such a face. Detective Gumshoe. You don't have to say it, sir. I'll pat the guy down from head to toe. Hey, don't come any closer. I'm warning you. It's all part of an investigation, pal, so don't even think about stopping me. Hey, what's this? He had this on him, sir. Despite what you said, it would appear that you do have something to hide. But why would he hide something like that? There's only one reason why anyone would hide evidence of this caliber. Because it would be unequivocally point to that person himself as the real killer. Let's examine this videotape in a little more detail. For the section of the tape that will drive the final nail into his coffin. There it is. I don't know what the KGB-8 incident was, but we do have some blood on it. Ah, that's blood, isn't it? Yes, and I believe that this is what the good prosecutor was trying to hide from us. This blood is still fresh. You mean this might be Detective Faith's blood? No, you've got it all wrong. No amount of denial could save you. You have but to run a blood test to find the truth. You told us that you'd received evidence from the victim earlier. Now you will tell us, when and how did the victim's blood find its way onto this video? Yeah, it's totally suspicious. Was it the moment of his death? Did Detective Faith have this videotape on his personage when you killed him? You know very well there's no way to prove that. Not even if we were to examine this tape for fingerprints? If I had to take a guess, I'd say the only ones here would belong to the murderous you and Mr. Faith. No, impossible. I... And down he goes. Mr. Portsman has been placed under arrest for the murder of Detective Buddy Faith, sir. Very good. The results we got back from the lab techs on the tape turned out to be real solid, sir. Blood work came back, and it was definitely Mr. Faith's blood on there. And as a bonus, they were also able to lift a few of Mr. Faith's fingerprints as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Edgeworth. I still can't believe I got to see your cool deductive skills outside the courtroom. I'm impressed beyond words, sir. There's nothing. Just sorry you got caught up in a murder in my office. Please accept my apologies. It was nothing, really, compared to what I've been through, I mean. I consider myself lucky that it was only a burglary and murder this time, sir. If it had been a holdup or a hostage situation, I'd thrown my hands up in the air. I think I'm finally rising up to a goddess of misfortune, to just an unlucky person. Something tells me we should have hired a different person for a security detail. You know something, sir? That Mr. Portsman really was one corrupt prosecutor. And why would you say he was corrupt? Well, I heard there was a number of suspicious things related to his court cases. There's even rumors of how some of the evidence he uses is forged, sir. Forged evidence, huh? And they say he even decided not to prosecute a few cases for some really vague reasons. That guy's a complete disgrace to the entire profession. I never did get around to asking what his reason was for breaking into my office. Yeah, whenever we got near that topic, he just clammed up. Well, we had pretty certain that it was to steal something. This is just between you and me, sir, but there's a rumor that some sort of huge organization is involved behind the scenes. Oh, well. With Mr. Portsman not willing to divulge anything, it certainly leads credence to that rumor. It would seem we have been heard the last of this. Huh? Mr. Portsman isn't the bad guy? I didn't say that. Rather, there's still many more mysteries for us to solve. For example, we still haven't figured out the significance of this piece of evidence. Yeah, this one, right? Why this particular file?
Take that!
The person who stole this file, the other villain of the night. Yeah, I wonder who it was, and what happened to the stolen pages. Wonder, who in the world was it that held me up at the gunpoint? Mr. Edgeworth, sir. Yes? I came across this while I was processing your office earlier, sir. This card. What is it, sir? Is a bird or something on there? Not just any bird. It's the mark of the raven. Three-legged raven. Even you should know what this is, Detective. Oh, it's about that thing, isn't it? The great thief everyone's talking about? Yes, it's the mark of the great thief Yatakarasu. Under the mark of the legendary bird, Yatakarasu is noble to the end. Modern Robin Hood. Labeled mysterious and phantom-like, the Yatakarasu appears and vanishes at will. Though we don't know much about this thief's ultimate goal, we do know the targets. The Yatakarasu likes to find and make public evidence of corrupted dealings of all sorts. The thief is always performed in the silence, and always with perfection. Once a target is chosen, no dramatic calling card or announcement is sent forth. Instead, the chosen corporation is infiltrated without even the target noticing. Some days later, the evidence was found and sent out to the mass media, along with this single card. Though it's been a while since the Yatakarasu's last appearance. Hey, Mr. Edgeworth! Look, something's written on the back. What? Let me see. It's the location where the thief put the stolen files. So the person who stole the contents of the files is the Yatakarasu. Yatakarasu. Organization. Quite a few keywords are popping up in this mystery. The murder in my office. The return of the great thief, Yatakarasu. Looking back, can't say I didn't see these events coming. For they were heralded by the incidents that began to occur 2 days ago. And with that, we solved our first case. I'm probably going to call it there, and we'll begin the next one, Turnabout Airlines, in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you guys are enjoying. Nice little easy case to start the game off. It does get complicated going forward, so, you know, should be fun watching me struggle through this. But thanks again for watching. I'll